students, now we are looking at the female cone of Pinus. Female cone or female strobilus is also known as megasporangiate cone. The male cone was microsporangiate cone. This one is called as megasporangiate cone. It is also called as the seed cone. There you go, female cone. Let's look at the longitudinal section of it. So this is the longitudinal section. In the center there will be an axis. Each one of this structure has three parts over here, 1, 2 and 3. This leaf here, this is the main leaf. This is called as the megasporophyll. Just like the microsporophyll of the male cone. This one is the megasporophyll, the megaspore bearing leaf. Also called as the ovuliferous scale. Beneath the megasporophyll, there will be a smaller leaf over here as you see. This is called as a bract scale. I'll tell you what a bract is. Suppose this is a stem and it is divided into nodes. At every node you know there is presence of a leaf. In the axil of each leaf there will be presence of a bud which is called as the axillary bud. This axillary bud can either grow into a flower or it can grow into a tendril or it can become a branch. It is up to the plant what to do with that bud. If this axillary bud turns into a flower, then this leaf that is below that flower is known as the bract or bract scale or a bract leaf. Below most of the flowers you will see such kind of bracts. Coming back over here, why is this called a bract scale? Maybe in the future in angiosperms, these megasporophylls are the ones that are going to become the pistil of this flower, and this bract scale is probably acting like this one. The origin is the same. And the third structure that you see over here is this ovule. There are two ovules here. Okay, you're looking from the side, that's why you're able to see just one. Now we will have a closer look at this megasporophyll. Okay, we are looking at the megasporophyll. This is on its dorsal side. You see presence of two structures here. These are called as the ovules. Ovules also called as a megasporangium. These are very primitive types of ovules. Like I told you, the sporophyte is able to form an ovule or integuments around the gametophyte in case of the higher plants. Silacilla set the stage for the formation of the seed habit, and over here this plant has been able to properly cover the gametophyte from the outside and produce these kind of ovules. Two bag-like structures have been produced, two megasporangia have been produced on each leaf. So we are looking at the ovule of the gymnosperms right now. This ovule is also called as the megasporangium. Why is it called as the megasporangium? Because it is a bag that holds the megaspore. The primary function of the ovule is to produce the megaspore. This ovule, is a very primitive type of an ovule. Okay, the ones that are found in angiosperms are very advanced types of ovules. The advanced types of ovules are inverted 190 degree in this manner. Alright, and they are called as anatropous ovule. Anatropous ovules are found in the angiosperms. There are various other types of ovules as well. There are some that are inverted to 90 degrees, some are inverted to 360 degrees, etc. You will be learning about different types of ovule inversions in your 12th standard class. However, this one is upright, and this is considered the most primitive type of ovule, and it is called as the orthotropous ovule. Ortho means orthodox, orthodox. Primitive. There are different parts of this ovule. We will see in the center all this mass that you see. This mass is called as the nucellus. That will be 2n. All parts of the ovule will be 2n. It is a structure produced by the sporophyte, so all parts are going to be 2n. These nucellus cells are covered on the outside by this covering over here. One single covering is present. It's called the integument. That is one integument only. Having one integument is a primitive feature. In angiosperms, there are mainly two integuments. That one is called as bitegmic. This one is called as unitegmic because of the one integument. You say this is unitegmic. Integuments do not cover this ovule entirely. There is one space left in here. This is called as the micropyle. Micropyle is the space, point of opening for whom? For the pollen grain to enter. On the opposite end of micropyle, this region over here, this is called as the chalaza. So while referring to the ovule, we can say chalazal end, micropylar end, etc. So out of all these cells of the nucellus, one of these cells differentiate itself into a special type of a cell. This specialized cell is known as the megaspore mother cell, which will be 2n. Remember microspore mother cells in the pollen sac, which had undergone meiosis to produce microspores? In this megasporangium, one cell has differentiated into a megaspore mother cell, which will then undergo the process of meiosis to produce 4 megaspores. 4 megaspores have been produced, isn't it? What is going to happen now is that 3 of these megaspores are going to degenerate from the micropylar end. We say 3 megaspores degenerate from micropylar end, leaving only 1 megaspore behind in the center. The ploidy of the 4 megaspores will be N. As you can see, only 1 megaspore has been left behind because of the degeneration of the 3 megaspores from the micropylar end. The 1 megaspore that remains is known as the functional megaspore, which will be N, and this cell is going to be our first cell of the female gametophyte. The female gametophyte has thus been created. The first cell of female gametophyte. So far in this life cycle, what has the sporophyte done? It has produced the microspores and the megaspores inside the cones that it's specially prepared for both of them, isn't it? The sporophyte has produced the first cells of the gametophyte. Now what are these gametophytes together going to do? They are going to do their thing and they are going to produce the next sporophyte, isn't it? The sporophyte produces the gametophyte and the gametophyte produces the sporophyte. You know this in the life cycle. So now how these gametophytes produce the next sporophyte is what we are going to see. Both the gametophytes, the male gametophyte, that is the microspore, have been formed and they have been liberated. We will look at the development of the female gametophyte. What happens in the megaspore now is that functional megaspore undergoes mitotic divisions and will produce a structure that looks like this. This ovule is a 2N structure, isn't it? This thing that you see over here, this has been formed by the functional megaspore. So this is the gametophyte. This is the female gametophyte, which has become multicellular, and as you can see, it has produced inside it archegonia, which are female sex organs. These archegonia are very small and reduced compared to the pteridophytes. Remember the archegonia of the pteridophytes? Flask-shaped structure. These are also flask-shaped structure. They had the neck canal cells, they had the ventral canal cells, and the female gamete inside them, isn't it? The archegonia of pteridophytes. What about here? This is the female gametophyte. They have also produced archegonia, but there are no NCCs, there are no VCCs. No neck canal cells, no ventral canal cells. Okay, only eggs will be produced. These are the egg cells also called as the female gamete, and as you can see, more than 2 have been produced. So more than 2 female gametes are available inside this female gametophyte right now. This portion that you see below these archegonia is another type of tissue. This is called as the endosperm. Endosperm, which will be haploid. Archegonia are also going to be haploid because they are both gametophytic structures. Endosperm is a nutritive tissue which this ovule produces for the growing embryo if it is formed. Nutritive tissue for embryo, which has not been formed right now. Pre-fertilization. This endosperm has been produced. Pre-fertilization. Why am I specifying it produces pre-fertilization? Is because angiosperms produce their endosperm after fertilization. Now this ovule is ready with its gametophyte and the gametes. So now what will happen is the pollen grain from the male cone. Pollen grain liberated from the male cone will come and settle over here. It will be carried by wind. There is anemophily and the pollination is direct. What is direct? In angiosperms it is indirect, since the pollen grain sits on the stigma and the pollen tube crosses the style and the ovary. However, over here the pollen grain comes and sits directly at the mouth of the microbiome. Hence it is a direct pollination. So once pollen grains come and settle, they will start to produce their pollen tube. Pollen tube will be produced, which carry the male gametes inside them. Usually there is one functional gamete per pollen tube. Once the pollination takes place, once the pollen grain comes and settles onto the microbiome, it will take it 13 months to dig in, make that pollen tube and reach the female gamete and fertilize the female gamete. There is a gap of 13 months between pollination and fertilization in Pinus. Once pollination occurs, 13 months later, there is fertilization. Pollen tube carries one functional male gamete. And as you can see here, more than one pollen grain has settled over here on the microbiome, and there are many gametes available. So each one of them can have his own female gamete. So there will be a bride for every groom over there. And then there is going to be fertilization. What will form of this ovule will be this. This has been produced by the outer integument. This is called as the seed coat. from integument. Who is the origin of this integument? The parent sporophyte, which will be 2n. What is this part? This part will be the nucellus. You see this? Once the fertilization takes place over here, this embryo is going to mature inside this archegonia, alright? And it will grow. And this structure will then get converted into this seed, alright? This is the seed post fertilization. The integument is going to get converted into seed coat. What will this part, the nucellus, get converted into? It will also get converted into a nutritive tissue which is called as the perisperm. This has been formed from nucellus. Who is the source of the nucellus? The parent sporophyte, isn't it? Ploidy of which will be 2n. Agree? Inside that there will be the endosperm. This part over here will become the endosperm. Endosperm. Who has it formed from? It has been formed from endosperm itself. Origin, female gametophyte. Ploidy will be n. Ploidy of the endosperm will be n. Who is this inside? Very much inside. This is going to be the embryo. And there can be more than one embryo, by the way. This is going to be the embryo. Who will the embryo be formed from? From zygote. Maybe more than one. And who have they formed from? They have been formed from the new sporophytes. They are the new sporophytes, not parent. New sporophytes whose ploidy is going to be 2. So 2n is holding n and n is holding 2n. Three generations in one seed you will find for Pinus seed. This is your Pinus seed. So has the parent sporophyte successfully formed the new sporophyte? Yes, it has. Once this seed is fallen onto the ground, once this Pinus seed has been successfully infested by mycorrhizal fungi, remember, both of them will grow together and form the new sporophytic Pinus tree. This Pinus seed, the Pinus seed can be described as polyembryonic. Polyembryonic meaning more than one embryos. It can be described as perispermic. Why is it described as perispermic? Because it has a perisperm and not all the seeds have perisperm in them. It's also endospermic seed because there is a presence of endosperm. The Pinus seed is also called as a winged seed because it has a wing on it. When it falls off from the megasporophyll, no, it takes a part of the megasporophyll along with it, producing a wing. So with that we complete the life cycle of Pinus. If you plot the entire life cycle on a pie chart like this, majority of the duration of its life cycle is taken by the 2n phase, that is the sporophytic phase, and only a small part of its life cycle is occupied by the n phase, that is the gametophytic phase. Such kind of a life cycle in which the 2n stage or the sporophytic stage is more dominant, it is known as a diplontic life cycle. So that was it from the life cycle of Pinus.
महादेव के नाम पे सब्सक्राइब कर दें।